Do you still believe that Putin actually wants to end the war?
I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we're going to find out very soon. We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. Vladimir Putin bombed Ukraine shortly after a prisoner exchange, and of course Ukraine struck back. Just today, Ukraine launched a massive drone attack, destroying 40 Russian planes. Putin is still killing innocent civilians, even after Donald Trump said stop. President Trump does not like being lied to or misled.
We've said multiple times that we're going to judge Russia based not on what they say, but on what they do. And right now what's happening is not good. I think the president has judged Putin based on the nature of what was clearly extremely frustrating to him regarding the killing of civilians while talks are going on for a ceasefire.
Yeah, it looks like they're 0 for 2. They lie and kill innocent civilians. There are also Senate and House members who long ago gave up on Vladimir Putin. They do not believe anything will stop him except crippling sanctions, a powerful NATO, and an armed Ukraine. Dan Hoffman is a former CIA station chief who served in Moscow and joins us now. Thank you for your service, Dan. I was not surprised Putin would talk peace while bombing innocent civilians. Were you?
No, Trey, past his prologue with Vladimir Putin, this is what he's been doing for over 3 years in this war on Ukraine. And before that, remember that Putin came to power by launching a massive war on Chechnya, violating human rights of innocent civilians there. And then he invaded Georgia in 2008 and continues illegally to occupy Georgian territory. So this is par for the course for a guy who turned a defector into a human dirty bomb with polonium-210 on the streets of London. It's just the way that the KGB operative in the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin, operates.
And it's amazing how many of his political enemies seem to jump off of really tall buildings in Moscow. What language does he understand? He doesn't seem to take negotiations seriously. He doesn't think there are going to be consequences for his duplicity. President Trump is losing patience, but what does Putin understand?
Well, to paraphrase one of the great secretaries of state, George Shultz, who once said that negotiation without the shadow of power results in capitulation. So what Putin understands is having a bayonet thrust at his belly at the same time that negotiations are ongoing. And so holding back on the leverage that we have just reduces the throw weight of whatever strength we have on our side. And so that's the concern that I would have going forward. Putin wants to create the impression that he's negotiating so that he can delay secondary sanctions while trying to reduce U.S. assistance to Ukraine or eliminate it altogether, and then also try to drive a wedge between the United States and Europe, none of which is going to succeed, but that's what Putin is seeking to do.
All right, speaking of Europe, I don't speak for Donald Trump, but I am sure he is very frustrated. This war did not start on his watch. He doesn't think it would have started on his watch. Can and should Europe do more? I mean, why is the U.S. having to do most of the talking? Can Europe, stop buying energy from Russia, or China is subsidizing this invasion? What can Europe do?
Well, I think the United States can lead. And yes, we want Europe to do more, but let's not give up our leadership role as a global superpower. Sure, I'm fine with Europe doing more, but I think the United States needs to lead on this one. It doesn't mean we need to send our troops to Ukraine. It's not our war, but I would argue that it is our fight to ensure that Russia doesn't invade a neighbor and mount what is essentially just an imperial land grab. And there's a lot for Europe to do, but they'll do better under U.S. leadership. It's always been that way, and I don't think it's ever not going to be that way.
Do you think Ukraine has the weaponry it needs? It seems like in the past we gave them just enough weapons to just barely lose. Do they have the weapons to actually mount a really strong counteroffensive, or is it just drones?
Yeah, so Ukraine, look, the Biden administration didn't give Ukraine what they needed to deter Russia's invasion in the first place. And then once the invasion occurred, we never gave Ukraine what they needed to effectively to fight back enough to stop Putin's invasion. That's why Putin continues to strike Ukrainian innocent civilians in their homes and neighborhoods and their hospitals. So, look, Ukraine could use more assistance, military assistance. I think they're willing to pay for it. So is Europe. And the United States can be the arsenal for democracy. And that would go a long way towards convincing China that any attack on Taiwan would also be met with serious U.S. resistance and full throttled support for our allies in the region who are taking on the fight at the point of attack.
Well, I am not, Dan, going to violate any confidences, but I can tell you, for the most part, President Trump is losing patience with Vladimir Putin, and that is not a place Putin wants to find himself. Dan Hoffman, thank you for your service to our country and for loaning us your expertise on a Sunday night.
Great seeing you, Trey.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.